I guess when I was 17 and I started making photos of me riding and friends riding in the subway or on the rooftops, I had no inspiration really from any kind of artist because I had no idea what was being an artist, that there was a photographer out there, that there was a museum. I was not at all, I didn't know at all that work. So I don't remember of any inspiration that at that young age kind of like influenced me. I think for years I've always been about the friends around me and the people that I was working with, the writers, not known or unknown. It didn't really matter. It was more about the action and then the action of pasting the photo after. So that whole process was interesting to me, of where to take the image and how to take it, knowing already that I would put it on the street. So for me, it's like if I always knew that my ended canvas would be the street, so I would already show it to a lot of people that were not necessarily familiar to museum like me. You know what, it was an interesting point at the beginning of how to, people would tell me, how can you give your process away, because that's your art. So if you give it to people, what do you have left? And that's one of the points in the movie actually. But then I guess the movie cannot show it, but that's what I realized doing the project, is that people would take ownership of it, and then they would make the project even more interesting, because then I would become the enabler and I would keep it as a frame of an art project, because they have to respect the rule. It's a portrait, it's black and white, they can't be linked with any corporation, brands or whatever. So it has to be about the people's message, and I guess they just made a local actions in their places for local impact. And then if the message needed to go global, then it went global, but it really about the community first. For 13 years, I guess I've been traveling around the world and taking people's portraits and help them place them in their community. And I realized that the more I was doing it in different countries, the more people would get involved. And I was like, why don't they do it without me? It would be possible if I reverse the process. So I just made it available to anyone so that they can do it. Whatever, if they can afford the poster or not, I would pay for it. But I wanted to see people around the planet, see where and how they would do it if they could do it themselves. And so that's how the project started, 2 years ago. And in 2 years, more than 150,000 people participated, and in more than 100 countries, in 10,000 locations. I mean, places I've never been, facing I will never see. But I know it created interaction, it created energy in all those communities, and that's what the whole Inside Out project is about. I was doing portraits from when I started in the suburbs of Paris for the 28mm project. But I had to adapt during the progress of that project. In Brazil, for example, I had to adapt to those architecture of houses that were horizontal, so I had to crop in the image. And of course, by cropping, I would always center on the eye. And then it kind of became one of my symbols. When you put a photo out there, you're looking for interaction, any kind. My work is not really provocative, I guess. It's more, it raises questions, it doesn't give answers. So what happened in Tunisia was pretty interesting, because it was more about a profound questions of image in society, in a place where they've never seen another image in the dictator, and suddenly there was hundreds of photos on the wall. I guess that's where that project there and that reactions in the streets were really interesting, because it was really talking about something really deep in society that was kind of revealed by this, by this conflict in the street. I love that question, what's next, because it used to be a question that stresses me. But I think as an artist, it's good to not know what's next, because you're forced to create. I pull up Inside Out in one night of just like, hey, maybe that's the moment to launch such a project. But I never planned it. You would ask me the day before, I didn't know about it. And I love not knowing what's next. It's like these things that kind of push you and gives you that stress of creativity, and I want to keep that. I think that's what keeps you alive.